Hey everyone, Kevin here. There are a lot of concerns that the stock market is not necessarily reflecting what the heck is going on in the economy, and now we've got a bunch of concerns about China and what the future is for our economy. Is the market gonna crash again? Are we gonna get the W-shaped recovery because of a trade war with China? So many things going on. I just wanted to go through some notes that I have about China because I think they're really going to give us a guide as to what to expect in the coming months. So here's a very simple overview of what's going on. Let's start from the beginning. We know, or we expect, that this outbreak started in Wuhan. And right now, like this guy or not, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says, we're trying to figure out where's patient zero. We know that this could happen again. And so because of that, we need details on where patient zero is, basically the first person to get COVID-19 or be diagnosed with COVID-19. And we're, as a country, happy to help China get to the bottom of this information, that this isn't about politics, and we need countries to share reliable data, and we're calling for transparency. Now, those are kind of the indisputable things that he says. I think it's very clear that we can all agree those are the answers that we need, and those are things that we would expect. We would expect countries to be able to communicate with each other and share details in terms of where did patient zero come from? Did this come from a lab? Did this come from a bat? Was this man-made? Was it not? Everybody wants these answers. Now, I'm not going to speculate on conclusions on that. I want to talk about the market and what we can expect regarding our money, because that's what I do on this channel. I talk about money and the psychology of money and investing and making money. But now we have some more problems coming up. Politics, and this could be a very bad thing for our markets coming up. China apparently got a hold of a 57-page memo that was circulated by a committee that advises political candidates on how to run against Democrats. Here's that memo. This memo was put together by O'Donnell and Associates. It's a strategic communications Corona big book, and it's called Main Messages from April 17th. And this is, 57-page memo here, but take a look at just the summary here. Let's zoom in on some of these things. And remember, this is a memo advising the people in our government running for re-election campaigns or running to get in. Short version, China caused this pandemic by covering it up, lying, and hoarding the world's supply of medical equipment. China is an adversary that has stolen millions of American jobs. They send religious minorities to concentration camps. And then here are recommended lines that people can actually use in their campaigns. My opponent is soft on China, fails to stand up to the Chinese Communist Party. I will stand up to China. Push for sanctions on China, which are like taxes, right? Trade taxes or penalties are called sanctions between countries. The Chinese Communist Party caused this pandemic. They are an adversary, and the Chinese Communist Party is our enemy. China forces women to have abortions. And then it goes on. We're too reliant on China. My opponent is soft on China. If I'm elected, I'll fight to move our manufacturing out of China and back home. And so a lot of these arguments are obviously popular, bringing jobs back to the United States. But this 57-page document goes on to talk about China destroying samples and all of the missteps, essentially, that China took in handling this pandemic. And it's clearly, obviously, it's geared towards Republicans because, obviously, here it says Democrats are weak on China. And I'm not showing this to take sides. I don't care if you're left, right, or center, right? Likely attacks and questions. Look at this. It's actually kind of interesting. Isn't this Trump's fault? Note, don't defend Trump. Other than the China travel ban, attack China. Suggested response. This is China's fault. The virus came from China, and China covered it up because China lied about the extent of the virus. Our public health officials acted late. I wish everyone acted earlier. I'm glad President Trump acted early to ban travel to China. Those are some of the actual things that they're suggesting, saying here. Don't support Biden. Anyway, politics aside. China got a hold of this memo. This is not the kind of document you want China getting a hold of. Whether, I'm sure Democrats have stuff like this that circulates too. Like, these are some attacking arguments you could use to attack Republicans, just like Republicans clearly have this kind of stuff. I'm sure this stuff happens on both sides. The point is, China has a hold of this, and obviously now, rather than us as a country being able to solely focus on, hey, let's get to the bottom line in terms of what happened with this virus, let's just continue gathering information. At the same time we can gather information, let's focus on stimulus. Let's focus on getting Americans back to work and safely. Let's focus on a vaccine, let's focus on a test and a cure, whatever we gotta do, PPE, whatever we could do to get our country back to work and safely and minimize this. I'm not saying reopen tomorrow, I'm saying reopen when it's safe to reopen. That's what we should be focusing on right now. But unfortunately, because of this kind of stuff going on, this sort of politics getting mixed in with the coronavirus and now becoming a tool to fight for a re-election with, guess what's happening? Well, we're gonna talk about the guess what in a moment regarding potential market crash and stuff like that. But I wanna listen in here for a second, or at least read you some quotes from Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican, on Fox News with Laura Ingraham 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago, I watched this and I took these notes and I'm gonna bring them up now. Here's some of the things that Lindsey Graham says. The question was, we have to have this economy in shape before the election. So how do you go after China hard if you want the economy in shape? And Lindsey Graham's response was, don't give them a pass. I'm 100% convinced without China, the virus wouldn't have been here in the US. We can bring the supply chain back to the US. We can punish the hell out of China. We can't give China a pass. Democrats will give them a pass. China won't be made to cooperate unless we make them. And we're going to vote in the Senate this week to hold China accountable. We're going to bring up a sanctions bill this week against China. So now clearly, and it doesn't even matter which side you're on, left, right, or center, clearly this China issue has already begun becoming an election rallying cry. We've seen Democrats talk about it. We've seen Mitch McConnell talk about it. We've seen Lindsey Graham on interviews talk about it. We've seen Donald Trump talk about it. The China issue is not going to go away, at least until there's conclusive evidence in terms of what actually happened, not conspiracy theories, what actually happened. We don't have the answer for that yet. So we can't blame anybody for theorizing what's going on. Now, what does this mean for stimulus checks and what should you be doing if you dare invest? All right, so here's the scoop. First things first, regarding stimulus, this could be a big distraction at the time when we need it most. That is, we might see more polarizations, that is, more Republicans entrenching and more Democrats entrenching, and a longer negotiation process to get stimulus. This is bad. This China thing is a short-term distraction. It's also bad because it's very likely that a trade war with China, or even talks about a trade war with China, is going to have a negative impact on the stock market. It's going to affect confidence at businesses, which is exactly what happened the last time we had a Chinese trade war, which means businesses are going to be interested in hiring fewer people and investing less money, which means this economic recovery is going to take even longer. And so in the short term, stimulus might get hurt because of the distraction, but in the long term, we might end up having to see more stimulus because the market might be in a worse condition. Now, if you are crazy enough after all of this to take your money out of cash and invest it into stocks or real estate, let me tell you the best 2 ways to do it to try to stay as sane as possible, but only do this if you believe in the United States 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That is, you don't need to unlock this money for the next 5 or 10 years. You're gonna put it in and you're gonna forget about it. Only do one of these next 2 things if you believe that. And if you think everything's going to heck, hodl Bitcoin, okay? But there's gonna be a lot of drama and a lot of market volatility, and you gotta be prepared for it. All right, here we go. Now here's exactly option number 1 of what you're going to do. You'll follow Warren Buffett's advice. This is also very similar to the psychology that I teach you in my money program linked below. But anyway, follow Warren Buffett's advice. Open an account at a company like M1 Finance. There's a link for that down below. It doesn't have to be, M1 Finance, but M1 Finance is very easy. When you open the account, you'll have little pies. These are just your investment portfolios. Click on one of them. Here, I'll click on my T2 pie. Then go to the little targets button. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna click the little plus over here. Then we're going to go to funds at the top. Forget trying to pick a stock yourself. Type in VOO. That's the Vanguard S&P 500 Index Fund. It's a slice of the American pie, and add that to your pie. Great, there we go. Now I've got VOO in my T2 pie. let's now go over to the little investing tab. Well, here you go. I've got $0 in VOO, but let's go ahead and change that right now. I'm gonna press this little manage slice button. I'm gonna buy into VOO. Watch this. Current value, buy amount. We're gonna put $5,000 in right now. Continue, continue, buy. Perfect. Now I can walk away. My order has been submitted to put $5,000 into an S&P 500 index fund. Now I have a slice of the American train, and I'm following Warren Buffett's advice by putting money into the market. Done. The second thing you could do is you could buy below market value real estate, like a little fixer-upper that you can move in yourself and build some net worth during this drama. But make sure you buy something below market value because you really want to protect yourself from any kind of fluctuation downwards in prices. So you want to learn how to maximize your wealth buying below market value. But in the meantime, buckle up. There's going to be a lot of volatility, and I would not be surprised if this Chinese trade war ends up creating some massive drama in the markets over the next few months. So buckle up, stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.